Hello and welcome to the next episode, to the next actually lesson of meat guide. Today I'm gonna teach you how honey is produced and how meat is produced. So let's go into the video. Honey production. How is it created in your castle? The building which is responsive for producing honey is your apiary. You can have a maximum of 10 apiaries in every of your castles. And all of them will have a workload of 100%. So no matter how many you put into your castle, all of them are have workload of 100%. So it doesn't depend how many of them is in your castle. And they work just as, for example, granary, because they have a basic production and they have a productivity percent, which depends on many bonuses, which I am gonna talk about later. And this basic production is multiplied by productivity. You add the bonuses from your build elements and you get honey per hour, and you have like 10 maximum of apiaries in the castle. Yes, and this creates your honey production per hour. Okay, so now a building which can boost your honey production per hour. This is pretty important. You can unlock it in souvenir buildings. It's called Honey Gardens. You can find it in Civil tab in build menu here. So this basically boosts your honey production by 10%, and it has 6 levels, so it can give a max of plus 60% of honey production. This booster is added to all of your apiary productivity, so it works basically the same as the building for food, which is flour mill, which adds 60% to food. Yeah, so this works the same but for honey. Okay, so I think that's the same. That's all you need to know about honey production, but I will tell you about some boosters later. Now let's go to meat production. Meat production is a bit more complicated. Okay, so let's start with the brewery. This is the building where meat is created. To create meat, you need two ingredients. Yes, you need food per hour and you need honey per hour. And this plus this, food plus honey, gives you meat per hour. This is the recipe for producing meat in your brewery. Basically, you have a slider here which tells you how many of these resources are used to create how many meat. Maybe I'm gonna switch my castle to a lower level brewery, so it's gonna be easier for you to understand. Okay, this is brewery level second. So when you set it to 10%, there's used, yes, food and honey. And if you slide it more, you are using more percent, up to 100%. And this is maximum your brewery is able to do. Yeah. Okay, so you can also see some stock limits. And what are the stock limits? Basically, you tell the game that if you are running low on food, for example, you have less than 101,000 food, the brewery will stop producing meat. And these limits are not suggested by me. You shouldn't do this, because if you have a lot of meat units in your castle and you don't have a lot of food units in your castle, then the brewery will stop when you have 100,000 of your food, and it won't produce meat. So meat will go down to minus and your units may die. So these limits are not suggested by me. You can also limit the honey amount in your storage. So if it drops lower than 50,000, for example, brewery will stop. But this is really not important. This is even bad, because it will stop your brewery earlier than it can stop when you have 0. So please set it to 0 for your for your easier gameplay and safer gameplay, so your units won't die. Okay, so now the questions: what if I run out of food? What if I run out of honey? And the most important, what if I run out of meat? Okay, let's answer these 3 questions. Basically, if you run out of food or of honey, your brewery will stop and it will adjust its percent to use as many honey or meat as many honey or food, depending on your basic production. So for example, if I have 37,000 of honey production, and I will set it to higher value, and it will use it overnight, yes, minus 10,000, it will go to 0, it will set itself to 37,500, which is my production, to be on mid 0. So it will set itself to about this. It will be like 39% maybe. So this is what it will set it to. And this will also affect my meat production. So have it in your mind that if you run out of this, your food units are not gonna die, because this will adjust also taking into consideration your food consumption by food units. So you have to keep your honey and your food in storage. You can't run out of it, because your meat production is going to go down, and your meat minus can be very, very high and dangerous to some of your units to starve to death. Okay, now another thing which may be like hard to understand for some of you. Basically, you cannot be on plus with meat. So for example, my honey is plus 9,000. So it goes like, hey, it's produced, but it's maximum, so it doesn't mind. Yes, it's just producing all the time. But meat cannot. It cannot be produced like overproduced. It cannot be produced more than is consumed. So basically, if you want to set it to more than is consuming, you cannot. I mean, you can, of course, but it will automatically set itself to the percent which is corresponding to like nearest to your meat consumption. So the production in the brewery will set to as near as possible to your meat consumption, but your meat consumption will be always higher than meat production. So for example, here I have like minus 400 per hour, yes. And if I try to set it to, for example, to plus, let's save it, you can see, no, it just didn't save. I mean, we can try to set it less and try to check quickly. Yes, you see, plus 100,000 per hour. But if I check again, no, it just set itself to 30% instead of 40, because it doesn't need more than, yes, it cannot overproduce. Okay, so now very important mechanism with this. Basically, if you have a minus with your meat and you don't have your meat storage full, you can of course set it to plus, so it will produce up to maximum of your storage. Yes? So this only happens if your storage is full of meat. Okay, so now let's check, let's tell you like a very important mechanism, which I like to call filling your meat storage. So basically, what does it do? If you have, like, for example, I will send my meat to some other castle. I will send maybe 400 meat. Okay, so now I don't have my maximum amount of meat in storage, and I can set my brewery, and this is what you do if you don't have maximum amount of meat in storage, but you have minus on meat. So you want to have full meat, yes, you want to have it full, so you just set it to 100%, but be aware, you have to you need to have some food, because this makes food usage very, very high and honey usage very, very high for a small amount of time. And when you save it, you can see that there's huge minus on food, there is huge minus on honey, and there is very, very giant plus on meat, over 1 million production of meat per hour. And why you do this? You do this to fill your storage quickly and to have like full storage. And as you can see, it will it just adjusted from 100% to 30% to adjust, as I just explained to you, its production just a bit lower than meat consumption, so you cannot be on the plus, and this is what you do to have your storage full. But be aware, you need to have food in your castle. Okay, so I hope you understood this well, and now let's go to two buildings actually which can boost your meat production. One does it literally, and one does it in the other way. Okay, so let's search for Barrel Workshop. You can also unlock it in Hall of Legends in Souvenir Researches in Buildings tab, and it gives you plus 10% meat production. on level first, and it can go up to level 6 with 60% boost. It can be upgraded for construction and upgrade tokens. So this increases your meat production, and the second building actually decreases the usage, reduces meat consumption of all soldiers stationed in this castle. So this reduces the usage of meat, consumption of your meat by all units. So this makes your units consume less meat, and this means that with the same meat production you can hold higher amount of units, or alternatively you can hold the same amount of units with smaller meat production. So this is very useful and very important building in whole meat infrastructure. Okay, I think this is all about producing meat. I hope you understand this well. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And that's all for today's video. So the next lesson will be published tomorrow at 8 p.m. So thank you everybody for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.